I've always believed that the land speaks for itself. You treat it right, it gives back. I've run my ranch this way for decades, ever since I inherited it from my father. He always said, fences keep out more than cattle. Son, they keep out trouble too. But he never dealt with an HOA. They came in 5 years ago, just as the town started shifting. New folks, ones who didn't know the difference between a horse trailer and a hay rake, wanted to enjoy the country. Life without the country work. A development cropped up down the ridge from my property. Cookie-cutter homes, perfect lawns, white fences that have never seen a muddy boot. And with them came the homeowners association. At first, they promised they'd only manage their subdivision. But it didn't take long before they started poking their noses further out, right up to my fence line. At first it was harmless. Karen Montrose, board president and full-time busybody, dropped off newsletters inviting me to community meetings. I ignored them. Then came notes suggesting I tidy up the gravel drive or mask odors coming from my livestock barn. I laughed those off too. But soon, those notes turned into formal notices, fines, claims that my back barn was a nuisance structure visible from their community trail. One even accused me of having non-conforming animals. I assumed they meant the goats. Still, I figured they'd tire out. But Karen, she had the determination of a tick and the charm of a cold sore, and she didn't like to be ignored. One chilly October evening, I came home after checking the far pasture, and something didn't feel right. Gates were closed differently. A tire track curved into the rear lane that didn't match any of my equipment. I asked my ranch hand Levi if anyone came by. No one, he said, except that silver SUV from last week. Same one that slowed down near the fence and drove off. That's when it hit me. They weren't just sending letters now. They were coming onto the property. So I set up my cameras, not the standard home security kind. I'd invested in night vision game cams years ago to track coyotes and the occasional trespasser during hunting season. I placed 4 around the barn, 2 near the gate, and 1 pointed straight toward the trail where that SUV had parked last time, just in case. A few nights passed with nothing but raccoons and a particularly lazy possum. Then, on a Wednesday just past midnight, my motion alert pinged. I rolled out of bed, slipped on my boots, and checked the monitor. What I saw made my blood run cold and hot all at once. There, in full clarity, were 2 people, one of them unmistakably Karen, with her clipboard still in hand, stepping through my fence gate using a key they clearly weren't supposed to have. The other was some wiry guy in a jacket with HOA compliance embroidered across the back. They had flashlights, measuring wheels, and what looked like a roll of red tape. They walked slowly around my barn, whispering, pointing, snapping pictures, all while ignoring my no trespassing signs posted in 3 languages. But the kicker, Karen paused right in front of the game cam, smiled like a smug cat, and slapped a sticker on my barn door that read, "Under investigation." I was stunned, enraged, but I didn't storm out with a shotgun. I let the camera do its job, and when they walked off 20 minutes later, cutting across my alfalfa field and ducking under the wire like teenage vandals, I knew exactly what I had to do. Next morning, I downloaded the footage, synced the timestamps, and printed stills. Every frame, crystal clear. Karen, her clipboard, the other officer poking around my livestock pens, even the SUV parked without plates visible in the side trail. I took the evidence straight to the county sheriff. Now, Sheriff Douglas is a known kind of guy, retired military, raised in this town, and not fond of HOA antics. He watched the footage quietly, sipping bitter black coffee. When the video showed Karen putting that sticker on my barn, he grunted. "It looks like criminal trespassing," he said, "and unauthorized tagging. Want me to pursue?" "Oh, I want a whole lot more than that," I said. "I want this circus to stop." He leaned back. "Then let's play this smart. Don't confront her. Let me file the report. Meanwhile, do you mind if I install one of our cams on your land too? Hidden one, just in case they come back. Be my guest," I said. "Make sure it's night vision that Friday." I got another letter, certified, from the HOA's legal department. It claimed I was harboring dilapidated agricultural equipment, accused me of failing to maintain boundary compliance, and included a threat to escalate the matter to county zoning board. I laughed so hard I choked on my jerky. They didn't know the zoning board already ruled my land as agricultural legacy status exempt from HOA jurisdiction. But that was just it. Karen and her people weren't interested in facts. They were pushing hard, hoping I'd blink. So, I played along. I stayed quiet. Let them think I was panicking. Then came the final straw. 2 days later, I woke up to find spray paint, red arrows pointing toward non-compliant zones, on the ground near my barn. Someone had come again. This time more reckless, bolder, but they didn't realize the sheriff's hidden cam caught the whole thing from the moment their car pulled in. To Karen, ducking behind my trailer, shaking a can of paint like a graffiti artist. That footage, combined with mine, was all we needed. The sheriff filed official charges: trespassing, vandalism, attempted fraud. But before serving the papers, he gave me one shot to get the message across. Want to invite her to the next HO meeting? He asked with a sly grin. Better, I said. Let's bring the meeting to me. So I printed stills of the footage. Full color, high gloss. Blew up one of Karen mid-spray and another of her smirking in the night vision glow. I mounted them on cardboard signs and posted them on my front gate with a banner. Above, private RANCH trespassers caught on camera. I didn't have to say her name. The face said it all. By afternoon, word had spread like wildfire. Neighbors drove by slow. Some even honked and gave me a thumbs up. One HOA member, a guy named Rick, who always kept his head down, stopped by and said, "I never knew it got this bad." She said you were hostile. But this is wild. Hostile, I said, chuckling. I haven't even gotten started. Then came the knock on my door. Karen, flushed, red scarf too tight, clipboard shaking. "You've gone too far," she snapped. "You're making me look like a criminal." "You did that yourself," I said, folding my arms. "Did you think I wouldn't catch you? I was performing a compliance inspection at 1 a.m. With spray paint, you broke in. Karen, you and your buddy." She tried to bluster, mentioned legal action. "Defamation. I'm not scared of your little scarecrow signs." "No," I said, calmly. "But you should be scared of the court summons. Headed your way." Shut her up. She turned and stormed off. But the damage was done. The story had spread, and now I had the narrative. But little did I know, that wasn't the end. Because that night, something strange happened. At exactly 3:17 a.m., my alert triggered again. A vehicle approached. Same SUV. Lights off. But this time, they weren't alone. A second car pulled in behind someone with a flashlight and something in their hands. What I saw made my stomach drop. They were trying to disable my camera. The moment I saw that second vehicle pulling in behind Karen's silver SUV, I knew something wasn't right. It wasn't a visit. It was a mission. The driver of the second car, a younger man, hoodie pulled up tight, flashlight in one hand, and a pair of wire cutters in the other, crept right toward the back pasture, where the sheriff's cam had been hidden. This wasn't just trespassing anymore. It was tampering with an ongoing investigation. I watched from inside my house in the dark, sitting beside the monitor like a man guarding treasure. I kept my boots off so I wouldn't make a sound. The motion cam followed every step. Karen stood near the barn with her arms crossed, whispering frantically. The guy she brought later, I'd find out it was her nephew, knelt by the base of the barn, reached up to the corner where the sheriff's unit had placed the secondary lens, and snipped the wire clean. Right there. Caught on camera. I didn't grab my gun. I grabbed my phone. "Sheriff," I said, barely above a whisper. "They're here, and they just cut your cam." His voice on the other end was sharp. "Stay inside. Deputies are 5 minutes out." 5 minutes felt like an hour. Karen and her little accomplice started walking around the side of the barn, flashlights sweeping the fence line, probably looking for my other game cams. But I had those well hidden deep in the branches, disguised in bird boxes, even one inside a fake salt lick. They'd never find them, but they sure tried. Suddenly, headlights flashed through the trees. Red, blue, siren, chirp. 2 sheriff units skidded onto the gravel lane, crunching hard. Karen froze. The nephew panicked and bolted toward the SUV, but the cops were faster. Hands in the air. One of them shouted, "Put the flashlight down." By the time I opened my front door and stepped out, Karen was already pleading her case like a guilty politician caught mid-scandal. "This is all a misunderstanding," she wailed. "We're just checking for violations. That man is a public safety hazard." But Sheriff Douglas wasn't having it. "Public safety hazard," he barked. "Karen, you cut into a sealed investigation camera, brought someone onto private land without a warrant, and tried to conceal the evidence. That's obstruction. That's tampering. And that, ma'am, is breaking the law." She looked stunned. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again, like a fish flopping on dry. "Doc, but I'm the HOA president. You're not a law enforcement officer," he snapped back. "And this ain't your subdivision." The deputy slapped cuffs on her nephew. Karen wasn't cuffed. Not yet, but she was ordered to stay put. I stood a few feet away, arms folded, boots planted. "You thought no one would see," I said coldly. "You thought you could get away with it in the dark." She turned, face pale and furious. "You set me up." "No," I said, "you set yourself up. I just watched." They took her in for questioning that night. And you know what? That's when the truth finally started unraveling. Turns out, Karen had been doing this all over the HOA's jurisdiction. Not just my ranch. 3 other properties had anonymous inspections by her and her little crew. She'd fabricated violations, forged tags, even edited photos to make it seem like people's fences were collapsing or livestock were loose. All of it designed to bully folks into selling or falling in line. And the kicker, she was preparing to file a proposal to annex more land, including part of my ranch, into the HOA's zoning map, without any consent. Why? Because she was in talks with a real estate developer behind closed doors. If my barn could be condemned, and my back acreage marked unsafe, the developer could claim blight and move in with cash offers. That's why she wanted my land so bad. The sheriff had everything now. My night vision footage, the hidden deputy cam, Karen's spray paint stunt, her nephew's confession, and the proposal paperwork, which they seized from her car. I got the call 2 days later. Jack, Sheriff Douglas said, she's being formally charged. Trespassing, vandalism, conspiracy to commit fraud, and tampering with law enforcement property. I let that sink in for a moment. Justice tastes best slow cooked. But it wasn't over. The HOA board, once her little kingdom, completely turned on her. The moment the charges became public, they scrambled to distance themselves. They held an emergency meeting. I didn't attend. But I heard from Rick, the one quiet board member who always seemed embarrassed by Karen, that it was brutal. She lied to all of us. He told me, used her position to push personal agendas. Nobody knew she was planning annexation. Nobody approved those night inspections. She's out, officially. Karen was removed from her position. Her HOA credentials were stripped. And word spread like wildfire through the neighborhood. Folks started questioning every fine they'd ever received. Every inspection, every complaint. That next week, I held an open ranch night for the community. Not a party, just a stop by, see for yourself evening. Some folks from the subdivision came out timid at first, curious. They saw the barn, the livestock, the calm, steady hum of rural life. One of the women even said, "This is nothing like what she described. It's beautiful out here." I smiled. All it takes is truth and a little night vision. We ended the evening watching the sunset from the fence line. Some neighbors helped me repaint the sprayed ground markings. Others offered help mending some busted fence Karen's nephew knocked loose. It wasn't about the fence. It was about respect. Something Karen never gave but sure expected in return. As for me, I decided to leave the signs up. The big banner on my front gate now reads, "Private Ranch, protected by night vision and the truth." Below it are two photos, one of Karen, frozen in night vision green, tagging my barn, and one of her nephew, running from the flashlight like a raccoon at midnight. Poetic justice. Maybe, but more than that, it's a message. I haven't heard from the HOA since. New leadership, new respect, no more letters, no more fines, no more fake inspections. And my land, it's just as it should be, peaceful, productive, and protected. The wild turkeys are back in the trees. The goats have returned to chewing whatever they please. And I've upgraded my cameras just in case someone else forgets that ranchland remembers what others want to erase. So, if you ever find yourself on land that's been in a family longer than your HOA has been alive, think twice before you sneak past a fence. Especially if there's night vision involved. Because out here, we don't just protect our barns, we protect our truth. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around. I've got more wild HOA tales coming your way.